Hello friends, how are you? After a long gap, I am back with the Flask tutorials. First of all, happy Sankranti to all the Indian people who are viewing these tutorials, friends. So after a long gap, I am launching these Flask tutorials because so many people are asking, are mailing me to do these tutorials on Flask, and also for refreshing my knowledge I am doing these Flash tutorials, friends. Let's get started. Yeah, first of all, Flask is a what is Flask? What is Flask means it's not a literal meaning uh, which we are using in our day-to-day life. That means what Flask we are using in our daily life for storing a liquid in a hot manner, in a hot state. We need Flask, right? That's a literal meaning. But in the IT field, the Flask is a web framework, friends. It's a Python web framework. You also use it to develop a web applications, friends. That is a short definition. So let us understand what a web framework means. Okay, Flask is a web framework. That's okay. So let's know the meaning of what is a web framework. So web framework is a collection of tools, libraries, and the required code that enables a web application developer to speed up his uh, code, friends. To develop a web application, we need a certain minimum things. Okay, so that minimum things will be provided by the web framework as a ready-made package. So by using those tools, libraries, we will code the required web application. Like I will give an example here so that you can understand much better. Let us take, for example, we we need to uh, insert a pin to the wall, right? So what we will do, first of all, what we need to complete that work. What is the work? We need to insert a plug or a rod inside the wall, right? So that is the work. So what are the tools required to do that work? So we need a hammer. Okay, with the hammer we have to hit that nail or whatsoever you take the nail into the wall, right? So the tool we need is hammer. Okay, if the hammer is readily available with you, so what you will do? Definitely you will readily take up that hammer and hit the nail by placing onto the wall. Okay, the task is finished, right? So similarly, if the hammer is not readily available in your hands, or take it suppose, what you will do? So if there is no hammer, what you will do? You need to make hammer by yourself, right? So for that, what are the things you need? All those things you uh, need to collect somewhere, and you need to prepare the hammer. You need to manufacture the hammer first, and then after manufacturing the hammer you have to do your main work. Okay, similarly here also the work is to develop a web application. To web application means a website. Okay, so that is the work of a web developer. So for that work, what you need? You need to take care of all the minimum things. Some tools you require, some libraries you required, some code you required. So that code relate to, it may be relate to the HTTP requests, response protocols, all these things in my introduction to web development series I had made all those things. So if you didn't gone through those tutorials, the basics of web development, you please go through that. Okay, in that tutorials I had detailedly discussed all those things. So for to develop a web application, you need some minimum tools like in our earlier example, like a hammer. We need some tools, general tools to develop a web application, say common tools. So those tools are readily available, made readily available for a web developer to speed up his main work. Okay, so that is called web framework. Web framework, I think now it is sensing to you. Web framework is simple, it's a collection of required tools, libraries to speed up a web development. Why we need to use web framework means, the answer is, without the required tools we ourselves have to code all those things, right. In the case of our earlier example, we need to manufacture that hammer. Okay, after manufacturing we have to take that hammer, and then the main work is what, we need to hit the nail to the wall, right. Similarly, if there is no web framework available to the web developer, then the web developer job is very uh, becomes very complicated, because he need to sit down patiently, and then he need to write all the minimum levels of code. It's related to the requests, responses, protocols, all those things, and then after preparing all those tools, he need to start his main work. What is that main work? Developing a web application. Okay, then he will design, he will code all those CRUD operations, okay, front end task, back end task, database task, everything. He will start his main work. That means what will happen? So much time is wasted. Okay, web development time is very much wasted. So that is the main purpose of web framework, friends. Okay, so web framework is meant to speed up a web development task. So for speeding up this web development task, web framework provides a ready-made tools to the developer. Okay, this is the main purpose of the web framework, friends. Now we will go to the topic. What is Flask? Right? Flask is a micro web framework written in Python. So Flask is a web framework which will provide a ready-made tools for the web developer. So that web framework itself is developed, written in Python, friends. Okay. So then, and it is very much suitable for developing simple and small web applications. Okay, since Flask is a micro web framework. Okay, and this web framework is especially suited for simple and small scale web applications only. Okay, for large web applications, Flask is not that much suitable, but for developing a simple and small, some 10 pages, 20 pages websites, Flask is very much comfortable, friends. Okay, and that is why Flask is becoming very famous web framework these days. For developing a small 10 page or 20 page website, Flask is most suitable, more than enough. But in case of Django, Django is also a Python web framework, but it is used for very large scale web applications, complicated web applications, friends. And I do have the Django tutorials in our channel. If you want, you can go through those channels, friends. Okay. So what is Flask? Flask is a micro web framework that was written in Python, and is especially suitable for developing simple and small scale web applications, right. So why this Flask is classified as micro web framework means, because it offers a minimum functionalities that required to operate on the web, friends. Okay, so it doesn't have a complicated functionalities. The bare minimum functionalities are built coded into this web framework. Okay, and in contrast to Django have so many built-in functionalities. Whether you need or not, it provide all those things to you. When you install Django, all those built-in code will come. If you want or if you required or not required, if you use it or not, while installing Django into your system, all those libraries will be installed into your system. But in case of Flask doesn't have all those big functionalities readily available, friends. Okay, what Flask contains is a bare minimum functionalities are coded are available into the web framework. Okay, and then it doesn't have this database abstraction layer or form validations, friends. Okay, that means okay, so first of all, I don't want to complicate the things. In the next classes I will explain all these things, friends, but here just remember it's a web framework. It's developed for developing only simple and small web applications only. And then why it is called a minimal web framework means it contains a bare minimum code which is used for web operations. That's it. If you want complicated functionalities, then Flask by itself doesn't provide. You need to install the required libraries from the package manager, friends. Okay, so let us see. If we need extra functionalities, then we have to install required libraries for those extra functionalities as and when required. If we want to require ORM support, Flask doesn't intrinsically provide ORM support, but if you need a ORM support in your web application, then you must install it from package manager, friends. Pip, from pip command you need to install. So SQL Alchemy is an ORM support for database. So ORM means object relational mapping, so which I had elaborately discussed in my Django tutorials, and here also I will discuss it. And for WTF means it's another package. This functionality is for what? For providing HTML support, right? HTML form supports, right? So these two are not having intrinsically into the Flask, but if you want this support, then you need to install externally. That is the point which I am trying to convey to you here, right? And this Flask was developed by Armin Ronacher, who leads an international group of Python enthusiasts named Poco, friends. It was developed by Armin Ronacher, right? So this is about Flask introduction, friends, right? So I am summarizing the Flask introduction here. So what is a web framework? Web framework is a ready-made required tools to speed up a web application, right? And what is a Flask? Flask is a Python web framework. So for what purposes it we have to use Flask? For developing a small scale simple web applications, we can use Flask, right? Okay, so what Flask provides? A bare minimum libraries was built into the Flask in the form of libraries, right, to run a web application. For extra functionalities, we need to install appropriate relevant packages externally, right? So and it was developed by Armin Ronacher. He is a Python enthusiast named Poco, right? So this is it, friends, and I will see you in the next tutorials, friends. Bye bye till then. Bye bye.